Hoping to make some money this week, man. Hoping to make some money this week. Let's see what's going on here on the DXY. So we'll start off on the DXY with our weekly market forecast, and we'll just have a look at just, I guess, the most recent price action here that we can identify from a daily. But nonetheless, if we just look at the structure, there's a nice supply area that we're coming into, a nice area here in the past where we see a lot of volume, nice big bearish engulfing inside of this sideways moving this corrective structure here. We've got a nice area, last point of supply that was left behind, and price hasn't yet come back to fill that area of supply, or that resistance area hasn't really come back to retest that resistance area. So we're basically just looking for that touch to kind of terminate somewhere in and around this point of interest over there. We've also got this resistance trend line that functions as resistance for us. So even when we just come to the most recent price action, and even if we reference a little bit about what we were looking for last week we were looking at these equal highs here, and we we're expecting to see prices coming back up to violate these equal highs here before we look for our downside momentum. And since we've got a nice point of interest up there and a nice resistance area, simple enough, all we need to do is look for reversal structures above this resistance trend line or horizontal ray over here. And then obviously once we see price action violating our structure back below, we look for that terrible line. Once we see momentum pushing price action back below this resistance area, then we can obviously wait for that nice corrective retest of price action of the same resistance that price action has broken above. Then obviously we see momentum pushing back below for that nice retest of this area before we look for some dollar weakness. So I am still bearish bias on the DXY. Now I'm just waiting for price action to break back below this resistance area and give me a nice corrective retest, because I want to take those reduced risk entries. Because price has been fairly kind of impulsive to the upside throughout. So that's kind of why I want to look for those reduced risk entries instead of those risk entries. So nonetheless, we've still got a nice big bearish bias for the DXY. Let's go on to our pairs, guys. Let's get into some Aussie Cad. So Aussie Cad, okay, I don't think it's ready as yet. But guys, in all honesty, on Aussie Cad, I've got directional biases in two different directions. I've got both a short-term buy and then obviously the long-term sell. You guys can see that my tab is purple. So obviously every pair with a purple tab, I'm sell biased on. Every pair with a cyan tab, I'm bullish bias on, just so that I can keep my biases just by looking at the pair that I'm trading, just so that I never end up doing anything outside of what I'm supposed to be doing. But otherwise, just coming back to what we're doing here, guys, on Aussie Cad, I do have directional biases in both directions. So just saying that before we get into the whole explanation of what's going on here. So if we just look at the daily structure, just the most recent structure, we want to be bullish bias as much as possible, but obviously now we've disregarded the overall structure that we're looking at, and we just focused on the most recent structure, because the most recent structure is giving us some sort of a structure that we can make sense of, that we can use to, first of all, like we always say, that the point of us doing analysis is to, number one, make sense of the information that we're finding on the chart, understand where price action is relative to where price action was. What is price action currently doing? We're making sense of this information, number one. And number two, we need to make a decision based off the information that we've made sense from. So decision either being whether we're going long, whether we're going short, where we're going to go long or where we're going to go short, or if we're not going to make any decision at all. Those are the possible decisions that we could be making using our technical analysis. So coming back into Aussie Cad here, we've got a nice ascending structure there, giving us some sort of a first touch. We've got a nice second touch over here, and then you guys can see that we've got a potential third touch area over here, which also, if we go back and look at in the past, there's a nice area, nice momentum shift, nice area of resistance that price action could be tapping into, obviously for some sell bias momentum. So we do know that primarily based off the structure, because we have an ascending structure, we want to be sell biased, and that's where we're holding our bigger, higher time frame bias because of this overall daily structure that we are seeing over here. We also do identify that price action is being corrected around our resistance areas. We've got resistance over here, price action broken, closed above, broken, closed back below, giving us corrective nature. We've got new resistance over here on a lower time frame, price action broken, closed above, and broken, closed back below. So obviously giving us some corrective nature as price action is making its higher highs and higher lows. So yes, it is an uptrend, but it's not a steep uptrend, it's not an aggressive uptrend. Otherwise, coming back to the most recent price action, you guys do see we've got some important resistance in this area over here. Or let's just do this, make this full screen. So we've got our resistance area obviously coming up in this area over here. We've got some support. We've got new resistance, price action actually breaking above these previous equal highs over there, which was not shocking to us. Let's go down to the 4 hour and see what's going on here. So guys, on a 4 hour, what we can see is obviously things are clearly in an uptrend. We've got some support, we've got new resistance, we've got new higher lows, and then obviously we've got new higher highs. Things are in a bullish trend. We've also got this nice area of demand over here, obviously support area, where we see a nice big bullish engulfing candlestick giving us that indication of momentum shift. Obviously most recent momentum shift before price action was able to violate both these resistance areas and as well as these resistance areas up here. That's the most recent momentum shift, or at least the lowest momentum shift at our support. So otherwise, coming back to things here, I think what I will do for us is just allow us, okay, let's first speak about both our biases, because remember we did say that we've got a bullish bias and a bearish bias. Obviously the bullish bias would be a short-term bullish bias following through on this for our uptrend over there, considering that there's a nice point of interest there, considering that there's a beautiful corrective structure after we see some momentum being able to violate some resistance areas. There's our momentum being able to violate some resistance areas. We see price action entering some sort of a corrective structure. So because of these reasons, I am short-term bullish bias, but where I'm looking to manage my bullish bias trade is by the time I get to this point of interest over here. So I'm not looking to target anything 90% rule, anything above this resistance area here, because higher time frame I want to be sell bias, and I want to be sell bias first of all from this resistance area, and then obviously my last sell bias entry will be at this resistance area up there. So I want to trade my higher time frame directional bias primarily, but obviously on a smaller time frame there is a nice bullish bias setup over here, and you guys will see why I'm also allowing myself to take this bullish bias setup when we start speaking about New Zealand Dollar Cad, because obviously both of these pairs are positively correlated to some degree because they both share CAD as a quote pair. So otherwise, let's get back into our stuff over here. What I did want to do is just drop down onto a 1 hour. So on a 1 hour, we've got a nice first touch in this area over here. We've got a nice second touch somewhere over here. And then obviously you guys can see we've got a lower structure over there. So maybe what we can do is we can also, okay, let's just do this before we do that. Let's just delete some crap off our charts, guys. We don't want our charts to be too messy. We can also use this horizontal ray. We've got a nice, and you guys know these are the setups that I live and die for. Anytime we've got a nice low, and then just outside of that low, we've got a beautiful higher time frame point of interest. Guys, these are the setups that I live for. So all we're looking for is, and even if you guys want to isolate this to just the most recent structure, just this most recent small piece of whatever that's going on here, you guys can see that there's a first touch, second touch, and obviously price action can come down, give you a third touch at this point of interest before we see maybe some sort of a momentum shift and some momentum that gives us higher prices. So looking at Aussie Cad on a smaller time frame on a 1 hour, what I'm waiting for is just for price action to violate this lower structure over there. Simple enough for me, I'll look for my reversal structures as long as I'm below this support structure over there. And obviously if I don't find any reversal structures below and I don't find an entry below, then I wait for momentum to push price action back above this support structure over here that we've just broken below and broken back above. And then once you see that nice corrective retest, that is our reduced risk entry for some upside continuation on Aussie Cad. So it's nice and simple setup over here for our short-term buy. But like we did say, depending on obviously the type of entry that we do take or that we do find, if we get more than a 1:3 in between our entry, stop loss, and obviously our target, which will be at these highs over here, then we'll definitely be willing to take the trade. If this trade obviously gives us less than 1:3, then it's not worth it. It's completely straightforward, not worth it. But for sure it's going to give us more than 1:3, obviously, because we're going to be executing on a smaller time frame, and obviously we're going to have 1 hour targets. If we're looking to enter at a 1 hour point of interest over here, we should be looking to enter at the next 1 hour point of interest over there. So we'll have these higher time frame targets, smaller time frame entry. So for sure we'll probably be able to get more than 1:3. So otherwise, let's just wait for this short term buy to come through. Otherwise, you guys do know I did tell you guys that I am also sell bias on this pair. So my sell bias will basically come in, or I will be looking for some sell bias trading opportunities once price action does come to first of all this point of interest up there. So we'll obviously be paying attention to how does price action get to this point of interest, and obviously what does price action do at this point of interest. What we're waiting for is for price action to retest previous resistance that we've broken above, broken back below, and maybe we'll come back and correctively retest for that higher time frame downside momentum to play through or to follow through on this overall ascending structure that we observe from this resistance area over there. Right now I am short term bullish bias on Aussie Cad. So I think this is a nice setup, very beautiful setup for us over here. Yeah, let's just wait for our entry criteria. I'll put prices right there close to our point of interest, and I like that we're pumping some buyers in over there. I see this reason for our pumping buyers, you know, at least they're buyers showing themselves in here. So it'll be nice, like this bullish or like this nice momentum candlestick to the upside. Maybe someone was convinced somewhere in the world to start buying there, and price action just came, grab some more liquidity, buy from this bullish engulfing, and then maybe we'll stop them out. And hopefully that'll be the last stop out before we see the momentum pushing to the upside. So I like the way price action is moving right now. Absolutely stunning setup. Let's go on to some AU, see what we got going on there. So on AU, you guys can already see, no surprise, we're sell bias, but just to come back and look at the structure, see why we sell bias. What did I just do? Okay, cool. So just paying attention to why we're sell biased. we've got this weekly resistance area up there. We've also got another resistance slightly higher than this resistance, but obviously that second resistance, price action just wicked above that resistance, and then obviously we see momentum pushing back down. So basically what we've got here is some nice resistance. We've got this nice beautiful ascending structure, first touch, second touch. Obviously at that touch you guys can see something is happening in and around this area. We've broken out of this overall structure, we've broken back into the structure. Also on a smaller time frame, we've got some sort of structure, some resistance area that we've broken above, closed above, and then obviously we've broken back below. So we've got these equal highs over there, price action attack, these equal highs broken above. Like we did say that we're gonna wait and see. We are sell bias, we've been sell bias from last week, but we saw these equal highs. We did say that we'll exercise patience. We know what these equal highs mean. Not every set of equal highs means double top and that we should sell. Just depending, like I always tell you guys, we always pay attention to how does price action come to a level of structure. If we came here impulsively, then we should be looking for reduced risk entries, which means breaks of structure followed by those retests. Otherwise, we wait for a reduced risk entry in a form of price action breaking above our resistance area and then breaking back below. Any nice corrective retest will be our reduced risk entry in this sense, because price action did come to that area we want to sell fairly impulsively. So already, like I always tell you guys, it's just two pieces of information that we need to be able to make a good trading decision, or at least for price action to be able to tell us whether we should be looking to take a risk entry or whether we should exercise patience and only take a risk entry. If price action comes impulsively, wait for a reversal structure. If price action comes correctively, in that case, you're welcome to take a risk entry. Otherwise, let's go on to AU, finish off with AU. We've got this nice, obviously small momentum shift over there. It is a lower low, lower close, which is how I classify or how I kind of signify a bearish engulfing. To me, it doesn't really matter what the candlestick looks like, but I've got a criteria. If I see a lower low than the previous low, which in this green candlestick I can see there, I do have a lower low here on this next red candlestick, and I have a lower close. There's my previous close, here's my new close over there. I've got a low, I've got a low, I've got a lower low, I've got a lower close. That to me is a bearish engulfing. So obviously it's the most recent momentum shift that I do see just before price action has broken back into our level of structure. Just before we saw this nice 3 impulsive candlesticks, so at least this one is not so impulsive, but these 2 at least maybe we can say are. But otherwise, just before we saw some momentum breaking back within structure. So now I know that from a 4-hour list does function as my point of interest, where I want to find my trading opportunities, where I want to find downside reversal structures, candlestick confirmation, everything. This 4-hour structure is the level of structure that I want to trade at. But at the same time, I will be allowing myself maybe to take a trading opportunity if price action decides that it wants to give us some sort of a head and shoulders by maybe reacting from this resistance instead of poking above to our point of interest. But nonetheless, doesn't really matter where we find that trading opportunity. We are sell biased, whether we find it at this resistance area or at our point of interest there. Obviously, depending, if prices come here in a nice corrective manner, then we'll be able to take our risk entry. If price action comes here fairly impulsively, then we wait for that reduced risk entry, which is an entry that we take off the market has violated some levels of structure in the direction that we're looking to trade. Very simple enough. I won't even go down until the 1 hour, because price, I'm not going to buy AU. Yes, as much as maybe we see AU coming up to give us a sell, I don't see the probabilities in the direction of the buy, because we've just violated some support in the direction that I'm looking to trade. So giving me indication that maybe the trend has potentially changed on a 4-hour. Maybe we starting some sort of a downtrend. So otherwise, I am sell biased on AU. I'm waiting for price action to come to this point of interest where I'm going to be looking for my entry criteria. Otherwise, let's look to sell this thing. Let's go into some CCN, see what's going on there on CCN. So this is analysis that I did over the weekend. Still sell bias on CCN, but otherwise, obviously, if you can see what's happening today, we're just violating that resistance area up there. So what we're going to wait for, simple enough, we're going to wait for a reduced risk entry. So obviously, since we violated this resistance, I'm just trying to move my chart to the downside. So since we violated this higher time frame resistance area and as well as this resistance trend line over there, all we need to wait for, if we still want to sell this pair, all we got to wait for is just for price action to break back below our level of structure. And then obviously we wait for that reduced risk entry in the form of a corrective retest of a level of structure that we've just broken above and then maybe broken back below. And that's it. That's all that's going to give us an entry here on Swiss yen. If we're not seeing any entry criteria in the direction that we're looking to trade, we don't shift our bias and then just become all of a sudden bullish bias. No, we wait for that criteria. Otherwise, if higher time frame structure warrants me to shift my bias and change my bias, then in that case, yes, go ahead by all means. But otherwise, just because maybe structure is violating your thing and whatever, exercise patience, guys. Exercise patience. Allow the market to develop. Don't make a decision based off now all of a sudden this has happened and then I must just do this. You function off a plan, and then obviously if your plan doesn't come to fruition, then you create a new plan, and then you exercise patience and allow that new plan to play out. Allow the probabilities to align in your direction. So I'm still going to sit on my hands until Swiss yen gives me a sell bias. I'm going to sit on my hands. Like right now, if I was a buyer, I should have been a buyer down low. At this point in time, already I should have been a buyer down low. I should have been a buyer somewhere in and around these support structures there, if ever I was to be a buyer. right now to be a buyer, and we see that prices have just been giving us bullish. I don't want to be a buyer at wholesale prices. I want to be a buyer as low as I can be a buyer. So I think I'm gonna stick to my sell bias and wait for structure to kind of just change and do the things to be done. Yeah, that's Susian. Not so much of an interesting pair, so I think I'll just even take it off the watch list for the day, for the week, and then what we'll just do for ourselves is just add an alert so that we understand that okay, Susian has come back to this region over here. Maybe we're breaking back below our structure or whatever. Okay, let me just set this alert for myself. Cool. Let's go into some New Zealand Dollar Cad, guys. Let's go into some New Zealand Dollar Cad. I also love New Zealand Dollar Cad. I'm excited about it. We've been speaking about New Zealand Dollar Cad and what the structure is going to do and how it's going to be doing whatever for the longest of time. I'm so glad we've finally broken below these support structures there. Yeah. Kind of exciting for me to watch. Kind of exciting. Like I tell you guys, you don't need to trade a pair to be able to learn something from that pair. If you're honestly serious about what you're doing and you're watching this pair, you've got a plan, and you're not just going to wait for price action to come to where whatever or to fulfill your plan, but you're watching and learning from how price action is developing. Reason being to kind of continue to grow in the space of you being able to understand what price action maybe might be doing using the concepts that you use to understand the price action. For that purpose, you watch the price action and allow it to develop so that we can see and follow through and learn from the price action. But otherwise, we see price action being fairly impulsive to this area here, our third touch area where we've been looking to buy. All we're looking at right now in the most recent price action is sort of this inverse head and shoulders. We don't care anymore about the descending structures, whatever other higher time frame. We've got something that can give us a nice clear entry area, a nice clear exit area, some clear objectives. Let's just focus on that only. So anyway, we've got this resistance, extreme resistance. We've got some support giving us that left shoulder. We've got a new lower low, price action breaking below, nice support structure over there and breaking back above. Obviously, after we see some momentum pushing price action back above, we see breaks above resistance. We see price action giving us a new higher high here from a daily perspective. Obviously giving us an indication that maybe after we see a higher high, what should we be looking for? A higher low. Where can this higher low potentially terminate? At the right shoulder of this higher time frame inverse head and shoulders. So after we see this, we see some beautiful momentum giving us an indication that obviously not momentum, we see a beautiful corrective structure moving to the side, giving us an indication that this is the most recent momentum is to the upside. So we've got a lot of confidences that if we are bullish in this case, we're going to be trading in direction of the most recent momentum. We've got a nice inverse head and shoulders, we've got a nice break of resistance area. Obviously we're looking for those higher lows now. So we've got some beautiful confluence, a lot of reasons why we should be sell bias or why I'm going to be sell bias on this pair. Let's go into the 4 hour just to observe a little bit about the nature of how price action is developing, whatever it's developing here. So looking at the 4 hour, simply enough, what we've got is a nice bullish trend. We see a lot of momentum from these support areas over there, giving us all of this up here, being able to violate some resistance areas. Ever since we saw this extreme resistance and this extreme support being created, we saw price action being corrective inside. So obviously we stuck within some sort of a range inside extreme resistance and extreme support. We know sell bias trading opportunities from the high of the range, bullish bias trading opportunities from the low of the range. Now also we have this nice big bullish engulfing over there that gives us an indication of momentum shift. So if you were to conclude where within this move to the upside did those buyers initially come in, those buyers initially came in by this 4 hour momentum shift over there, meaning that if we wanted to add size or find a nice trading opportunity wherever, candlestick confirmation, all that nice good stuff, where is that area? That area is in and around this point of interest over here. So that's kind of what we're going to be waiting for there. That's my ultimate buy. That's kind of where I want to add my size, where I want to look for my reversal setups, that kind of a thing inside of this point of interest over there. So what I'll be waiting for, as much as we are at this touch, I can see that on a smaller time frame we're kind of consolidating a little bit there. I don't know what, I think it was on 5 minute that I saw we heavily just moving pretty much sideways. So yeah, we're violating some resistance, we're violating some support there, but we're kind of just chopping a lot. And so I kind of maybe just want to stick to what the higher time frames are going to be giving me. And if I don't see a big momentum shift on a higher time frame, like maybe a 1 hour, the only momentum shift that we've seen quite a couple, we've seen 2 different momentum shifts here. But maybe what I just want to wait for is just for something that's very clear that develops in this area before I look to buy. Otherwise, I'll just wait for maybe an hour candlestick confirmation or 15-minute candlestick confirmation if I want to be hasty on this buy right now where we are. The only reason why I'm waiting for reversal structure is because obviously from a 4-hourly perspective, it's clear we came here fairly impulsively. So we need to be waiting for that reversal structure just so that we keep the probabilities on our side. So otherwise, there's a nice beautiful point of interest over there, which we could be looking to add our size. Here's price action at this nice beautiful third touch over there. If we do find some sort of an inverse, some sort of a double bottom structure, some sort of a descending structure that allows us to look for bullish bias price action, guys, New Zealand Dollar Cad finally is here. Let's not be nice and bullish. So anyway, I did tell you guys that I'm going to explain why Aussie CAD bullish bias right now, because New Zealand Dollar Cad, our bias on New Zealand Dollar Cad will make that a lot more clear. Remember, we said that things are looking kind of weird inside of this area here on a smaller time frame. It's giving us a lot of mixed signals, a lot of chop, like price action just looks like it's on seek and destroy mode right now, down in a smaller time frame. So what we're going to be waiting for is that if we want to take this buy on a CAD code pair, we can clearly see that Aussie CAD is so much more closer to our point of interest for that bullish bias than New Zealand Dollar Cad is. So what that does is that it allows us to still take this trade on a correlated pair, on a CAD code pair, obviously maybe with its own probabilities, because obviously Aussie CAD is its own pair. We've identified its own probabilities, but instead of us maybe taking that risk entry on New Zealand Dollar Cad, because we can see how much chop is going on there and how confusing it's looking, let's rather look for that bullish bias entry on Aussie CAD. And obviously, if we don't see, if price action continues to fall and maybe we get stopped out on this pair, and as well as maybe we didn't take this entry on this pair, what does that do? That sets us up in this area of probability where we want to actually buy New Zealand Dollar Cad. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trading where the probabilities currently are. And since the bigger probabilities on these two correlated pairs are on Aussie CAD for that bullish bias setup, let's look to rather take the bullish bias setup on Aussie CAD first before we look for the bullish bias setup on New Zealand Dollar Cad. And New Zealand Dollar Cad, maybe if anything clear does not come up in this area, then let's have that patience and rather wait for price action to come to this momentum shift area, which is also that nice test of this right shoulder over there, left shoulder over there. So I would rather just want to wait for that there and then take the bullish bias setup now today if it does set up on Aussie CAD. So that's kind of just a way I'm just sharing with you guys how I'm planning on managing my risk and how I'm planning on entering, what I'm doing, and what my thought processes are on these pairs as well, just aside from just telling you I'm looking to buy and from this point of interest. Let's go into some US30. So US30, I'm going to be exercising patience, guys. US30 is equal to patience for me. So not even much reason for me to make this analysis very lengthy on US30. But anyway, I do see some momentum to the upside, being able to violate some support structures over there, even higher time frame support like on a daily. This is, I mean, it's not support, resistance. Sorry, being able to violate some resistance over there, some nice momentum. Obviously, this is some sort of an objective from a higher time frame, which you could be expecting prices maybe to want to go and tap into, but I don't feel like it's a very necessary thing for me to go up on the higher time frame and explain, because that's just I don't know how to explain why that is there, but it's not, let's not use that for our decision making process, but let's just observe that it's there, kind of a thing. Anyway, coming back to the price action over here, all I've got here just for my probabilities for me to be trading in a nice area of good probabilities. I've got first touch, second touch. Obviously, I've got a nice point of interest there, big bullish engulfing, showing us a nice momentum shift over there that kind of aligns with a potential third touch of this overall structure over there. So this is kind of where I see some nice bullish bias trading opportunities. We've also got some equal lows over there. So simple enough, we look for reversals below these equal lows, and then obviously if we don't find reversals, we look for momentum to push prices back above and that retest for that upside momentum. So this is our nice bullish bias setup over there. But then also on a smaller time frame, if I do see a double bottom structure where price, or some sort of a reversal structure where price action is right now, because it is previous support that we've broken below, broken back above, and that we're retesting right now. So on a smaller time frame, maybe H1, maybe whatever the case is, if I do see some sort of nice decelerating structure, something nice in this area, that obviously it does allow me to look for some sort of a bullish bias setup over there. There's some support structures over here, whatever the case is, something nice like this that does allow me to buy, then maybe I might be willing to buy in this area over here. But otherwise, if no reversal, some sort of a bullish bias structure forms in this area, this nice third touch region over here, that's where my high time frame bullish bias trading opportunities are seriously going to come in for me. As someone that likes to think that they're a swing trader, as much as I'm on the 1 minute, I like to think that I'm a swing trader, because I always love trading at higher time frame points of interest. Guys, market makers don't have an edge over you in terms of speed on a higher time frame. On a lower time frame, they can chop you with speed. They can mess you up with speed. They've got the edge for sure. On a lower time frame, they've got an edge. But when that 1 hourly candlestick closes, everyone in the world is watching and has to make decision of that 1 hourly close. When that 4 hourly close, when that daily closes, everyone makes decisions at the same time according to that structure. But on those smaller time frames, I can guarantee you they can beat you with speed, and they can find out things and make decisions way faster than we can. But otherwise, that's the end of the weekly market forecast, guys. US30, I think, what, 1, 2, 3, For 5, okay, we actually did 6 pairs, but we removed CN because obviously it's not really doing anything important for us. So from these 6 pairs, we've down to, let's just say 4, because there's only 4 actual pairs on the chart that we're going to be looking at. Let's just do ourselves a favor, set our alerts. Obviously, if we're not going to be looking at the pairs and whatever the case is, let's just set ourselves some alerts just so that we're always notified that it's time to come in, pay attention, so that we can take action and all that nice good stuff. Let's not forget 2 pairs. Okay, let's just say 3 pairs we're bullish bias on, because on Aussie Cad we're right now going to be slightly bullish bias than we are bearish bias. The only pair that we're bearish bias right now is Aussie Dollar, and still requires some patience for it to come basically to this point of interest up top there before we look to sell AU. Otherwise, thanks so much for being part of the session, guys. I don't see that there's any questions there in the chats. That just tells me that all of you guys are all sorted, that all of you guys are fresh. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot, guys. Let there be peace there in the streets. Let there be peace. Let our brothers and sisters be safe. Maybe I'll just screenshot these things for you guys and just upload them there in the trade ideas section, just so that you guys remember which direction and which points of interest we're looking for throughout the day. Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day.